absolutely life-changing sounds like a cliche, but my family's secure, my son's secure, my husband's secure, and we have a future back as a family. And 2.5, 3 years ago, we didn't have a future. So BBK will always be a friend of our family. In 2018, I was fairly newly commissioned into the Adjutant General's Corps. I'd served 16 years at that point, and I was involved in a women and ground close combat trial. So the trial for the new physical standards for the infantry. This was just before, you have to understand that the women were being allowed into frontline roles, and that's where the injury occurred on one of those serials. I was medically retired in 2023, just a couple of months after the third surgery, and still not able to use my right leg properly. It was a really trying time. And like every serving person that's injured in the military, we are made aware of the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme. And I duly applied. And was awarded a very low sum as an interim payment. But I think it was the way that I was treated during that process and how my medical records were used that led me, I suppose my gut instinct kicked in, and I realised that this was wrong. But I'm glad I did think about it, and I went to the Centre for Military Justice. With no agenda at all, just for some advice. I had a feeling that the injury I sustained was serious at the time. So this was after the initial surgery, and the Centre for Military Justice put me in touch with BBK, and I had the first conversation with Ahmed, and my life really began to change at that point. And that first conversation we had, I realised very, very quickly that I was speaking to somebody that really, really understood the military and understood the nuances of it. The language was understood. I think actually in the nearly 3 years I was working with BBK, I think I've only had to explain a couple of acronyms, and I think I had to look those ones up myself. So, and that's really helpful. There's a lot to process. There's obviously then got the addition of medical jargon as well. So just to have that real feeling that BBK understood the military was the most important part of the decision-making process for me. Probably the crux of the matter is, with BBK I felt like I was on a team, and that we were all working towards the same thing, and that my opinion was truly valued, and even sought. And sometimes, in fact often, if I'm being completely honest, I was able to call just to let some emotion out. My career was ending in the middle of when I started the process with BBK, my career wasn't ending. It was just unjust. And actually by the end, I had lost my career, I'd lost my health, I'd lost my mobility, I'd lost my housing, I'd lost a future I thought I was going to have. So throughout that process, it was cathartic to actually be able to talk to somebody that like Ahmed, that had been there through the whole process with me. There was one particular occasion I can remember. It was after the third surgery, and I woke up paralysed from the knee down, which was terrifying. It was a known risk for the surgery. It was the third time that they'd gone into the joint, and hip surgery always carries inherent risk. But it was over a bank holiday, so I ended up getting stuck in hospital for 5 days. And Ahmed was one of the very first people to call and check I was okay. The army didn't check. Obviously, my husband checked. But he was one of the first people. And it wasn't anything to do with the case, and I know it wasn't. He just wanted me to know that I was being thought about. And one of the reasons I'm here today is I feel like I became friends with my team. I feel like it was a real team effort, and that was a really important part of the legal process for me. So the claim has allowed me to return to where I would have been had the injury not occurred, which is all any of us can hope for. It's the gold star. So I've been able to help myself, and that's essentially what this process is. I'm not expecting anybody to fix my problems for me. I'm not expecting anybody to fund the rest of my life, but I have been returned to where I would have been had that injury not occurred. And I've been able to sort out my housing, now in suitable housing. I've had the time and space to recover, physically recover, in a job that's allowed me to work from home on reduced hours. I have now physically recovered really quite well, not 100%, but well enough that I've just taken up employment in my dream job. And the only reason I could do that is because I've had that time to recover, and I have the financial means to undertake employment that's a vocation that I absolutely love, and I don't have to consider the financial consequences of following my heart.